Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for being here this afternoon, this evening, or maybe it is the morning. I imagine quite early in Paris. How lovely. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Amanda Wright, founder and director of Wright, where I teach and facilitate breathwork and Qi Gong and nervous system well-being practices, both online and in person. And through the Wright Collective, which is my online membership community, and some of them are here tonight, great to see them here. I also love bringing in guest speakers and facilitators whose work deeply inspires me and expands the conversation around well-being, healing, and human potential. So tonight's guest is someone I genuinely respect and admire, is Mark Beesley. So Mark was one of my teachers during my level 1 Qi Gong teacher training here in Bali in 2024. And from the very beginning, I was drawn to his unique way of teaching and being in the world. Mark brings together something I find incredibly rare: deep therapeutic knowledge, lived experience, embodied wisdom, and a real sense of adventure and teaching and being in the world. Beyond his work in counselling, mental health and addiction support, he's also travelled extensively around the world, often by motorbike. We're both motorbike buddies on that story, exploring different cultures, people and ways of living. There's a groundedness and humanity in him that comes not just from study, but from life itself. And what I especially appreciate is the way Mark integrates Qi Gong, traditional Chinese medicine, and mind-body practices into therapeutic work, helping people reconnect not just intellectually, but physically, emotionally, and spiritually as well. So tonight's conversation is really about exploring the connection between human behaviour, addiction, emotional well-being, nervous system patterns, and the deeper journey from the head to the heart. So Mark, welcome. I'm really grateful to have you here with us tonight.
Thank you for asking me. It's quite an honour and quite a pleasure to see, so many people that follow you that are obviously interested in this sort of thing. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. I'm sure there's some people that are following you here as well, Mark. So yeah, it's a lovely mix. So Mark, let's crack on with some questions. So, Mark, you've lived a very adventurous and unconventional life in many ways. And how has travel, risk, and stepping into the unknown shaped your understanding of human behaviour and yourself?
Yeah, so travel, one, I'm very adventurous. So I love adventure. I love getting out and about, finding new cultures, and seeing stuff. But it really helped me way before I was a therapist to help me to understand. When we grow up at school, I found we get taught history, but we get taught by people that have no idea what that culture is actually really, only what they learn from a book or what they've taught. And it's not really their fault, but it's just how it is. And I started traveling because I actually wanted to start seeing it for myself. And then traveling around, I just started noticing culture is very different, but all humans want the same thing, basically. We all basically want the same needs. We want to have a need to be heard, to be seen, to love, and to help others. Yeah. No matter where you are in the world, what culture, really the fundamentals of what around the world that I started seeing. So I found it really interesting, and it helps me with my work today, that those things I really work with on people, because that's what we are as humans. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. So you've worked deeply in addiction, mental health and counselling. And what do you think people are fundamentally searching for underneath many of these addictive or avoidant behaviours?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I truly believe, look, with addiction, there's three common things that people have with addiction. One, they're usually very big-hearted people, but have been taught to shut it down from a very early age. One of the things I always ask, and I'll ask everyone that's watching or here at the moment, who was told they were too sensitive as a child? It's so common. Yeah, it's such a common thing, but what we don't realize, that should be seen as a gift, but what we do is we shut it down. So it's a very common thing with people. That sort of thing gets shut down from an early age. Very next level with addiction. So people that have addictive tendencies are usually what I like to call big-hearted people, but they've been taught from an early age to shut it down. Two, there's something about control. So it's usually there's something about, I haven't quite got this 100% yet. I'm still something I'm studying, but there's something about this need to be controlling. And people that go to addictive tendencies, especially say drugs and alcohol, they get the feeling they're usually controlling people in some way, but they get the feeling of not being in control. So it's a way to let go. It's a very common thing. There's something about controlling people and being the need to be in control. And the third thing is usually they have very low self-worth, very low self-esteem. And you add those three together, that people just really find it hard to be in the world, especially when the whole world gets shut, our emotional world gets shut down. So we almost don't discover who we are. We end up getting told to be different. Society tells us to be different. Society tells us that in some ways that we should be the opposite of what we really are, I believe. And it's about finding who you are and actually stepping into that and saying, no, I'm not listening to that anymore. So I'd say, yeah, I think that answers your question, if that's...
It sure does. And I guess also just you talking about human behaviour, what we're ultimately all looking for, right? Love, acceptance.
Yeah.
And when people don't have those basic human needs met as well, I'm sure that's when
Massive
those
part.
addictive behaviours can so easily be integrated into our everyday lives, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's a massive part. Look, I ask every one of my clients, and I'll get anyone watching to ask themselves this. Would you talk to your best friend the way you talk to yourself?
Yeah.
The answer is no. If you think of it like that, it's actually a form of abuse the way we speak to ourselves. That's the thing we need to change. The biggest thing we need to change is how we speak to ourselves. I truly believe all the studies I've done, it comes down to mental health issues, come down to the way we speak to ourselves, how we treat ourselves mentally. I've got no doubt about that. I haven't seen anything to question that yet. So if you, and I like to use this scenario, we are literally married to ourselves till death do us part. There's no trial separation. There's no divorce. There's no going to stay in a friend's house for a week away from yourself. You literally, it's like a marriage. We are death to us part. But most of us, the way we speak to ourselves, treat ourselves more like a one-night stand than a marriage.
Oh, great analogy.
Yeah. And it's sad when you think of it like that. It's actually sad.
Of course.
It's sad. So to me, that's the biggest thing we need to change. It's the biggest thing I work with clients is changing the way you speak to yourself. In most of us, it's a form of abuse. You wouldn't talk to your child the way we speak to ourselves or our loved one. Maybe sometimes when you're having a bit of an argument, but that happens. But yeah, but most of the time we'll drop a pen and, oh, you idiot, you such a fucking idiot, or you know what I mean? We speak to ourselves like that, but you call yourself an idiot all the time, you're really going to believe that's who you are, whether you notice that or not.
So is it a mindset, or is it what do we have to experience to actually start to speak to ourselves with more kindness and compassion?
But yeah, so I think there's a part of it's a mindset. It's what I call, with the way I work in therapy, I call it learnt behaviour. We learn it. We learn all the way we speak to ourselves. It's a learnt thing. If you have a parent, for example, and my therapy is it's not about blaming parents. It's about understanding where you learnt the behaviours from. Because at the end of the day, our parents learn it from their parents, learn it from their parents, and learn it from their parents. It's a learnt thing that we learn to do to ourselves. If you're, I know New Zealand, they have the same saying, you silly duffer, for example, when you do something stupid as a kid. You hear that as a child, it might come across as a funny thing in a way or a bit of a laugh, but you start learning to tell yourself stuff like that when you do things that are awkward or whatever. And we just start learning how to, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. And the biggest thing people tell themselves all the time is, I'm not good enough, I'm not enough, or who do you think you are? Basically, the two biggest all the self-talk comes around those two statements. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In your experience, and do you think addiction is only about substances, or are there more subtle forms of addiction and avoidance that many of us live with every day?
Yeah. I don't, definitely not about the substance. Addiction is about addiction. I love one of my favorite therapists is Gabriel Mate. He talks about, and I agree with him 100%. Addiction's about getting a hug. That's what it feels like. No matter what drug suits your brain capacity is, for a lack of a better term. So it's why some people are addicted to heroin, some people to ice, some people to alcohol. It's our brain, the way our brain is developed, the way the drug reacts has an impact on that. So that's a small part of it. But the biggest thing is always, it's around avoidance. It goes back to getting told to shut down your emotions. You're too sensitive. And look, most parents, on the average, most parents would do it because subconsciously they don't want to see their child sad or upset. So they'll tell them stuff like, don't cry, don't cry. It's not because they're doing it because they're nasty. They're doing it because subconsciously, I would say most of the time, they're actually avoiding their own feelings of discomfort. And this is the biggest thing about, and what therapy, the way therapy goes, I believe that therapy is going in a way of that avoidance is the answer. And it scares the hell out of me. You speak to anyone that's done really amazing work on themselves and changed their life, they'll always tell you uncomfortability is the key. The growth is in the discomfort. Yeah. But most of us will learn different ways to avoid, whether it's alcohol, drugs, exercise, whatever it is, shopping, sex, food, whatever it is, we'll find some way to comfort ourselves and to avoid what's really going on deep down. And it scares me. That's how psychologists work. The answer to me, psychology should be about, it's not about feeling good. It's about learning how to feel.
So true. So does that mean getting into the practice of being more embodied and understanding what our body is telling us?
Definitely. What your body's telling you, what your heart's telling you. It's definitely we live our lives like, I'll give you just an easy classic example. I was talking to a client today about it. We doubt ourselves so much. We'll go out for dinner and look at a menu and go, I want this, but, and we just deny ourselves what we really want, which was probably the first thing, would be 95% of what our body's telling us what we want, our heart's telling us what we want. But all this other stuff comes in and starts doubting ourselves. Oh, I'd love the steak, but I can't afford it. Fair enough. Or, oh, but this side's got chips and this one's got this and that one's got that. It's just insane how our mind works and goes to those things. It's because because of the learning that avoidance is the answer, we start doubting ourselves massively. And we don't know who we are. We don't know what we want, what our needs are. We question it all the time. Instead of stepping in our power and going, no, this is what I want. I don't care what other people think. I don't care what my parents think. My parents did a good enough job, but I want to be my own person, not choose what I want to do in life because my parents told me that's what I'm going to do, sort of thing. So yeah, avoidance, I think it's one big thing, and we're going that way. I think personally, I think woke culture is all about avoidance. PC is all about avoidance. You have to speak a certain way to me because I've got to avoid my uncomfortability. Yeah. And I think we're just going, I understand why people do it, but I think we're going the wrong way with that. We need to be okay with being uncomfortable. You'll find out so much stuff about yourself if you sit in uncomfortability and ask yourself why.
Yeah, and accept it also. Yes,
Acceptance
understanding
is
and just
huge.
going, okay, and acknowledging and accepting that I'm feeling uncomfortable because, yes, I have been abusing myself with my thoughts and my actions. And what does that feeling of guilt or shame or whatever that might come? But actually, that's just a normal part of being a human, right?
That's exactly right. We live in it. One thing about Maori culture is different. Australian, New Zealand culture is a classic example. You go to a funeral and people are running around going, I've got to be strong, I can't cry. I'm sorry, but someone that you just love has passed away, love enough to go to their funeral, has passed away, and you're not allowing yourself to cry. It's really sad that this is who we are. It's not who we are, it's who we've taught ourselves to be to avoid. When I go to a funeral, I just can't believe people say things like that. And I understand why, but I think it's really sad. This
Yeah,
probably sums it up. I just think
yeah,
it's really sad. That's how we live our lives.
very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark. And so you've often talked about the journey from the head to the heart. And what does that actually mean to you personally?
Yeah. It's probably the longest road in the world. And I'll go back to something I said before. We go to a restaurant and our heart knows what we want, or our body. But then I work with clients sometimes. If I hear they say but a lot, I'll get my clients to question everything after the but. Don't listen to what comes after but, the word but. If you say but a lot, oh, I'm gonna do this today, but your heart and your body is telling you what you need and what you want to do, and all the buts is all the it's literally for me. It's like going from here, but goes to here, and this takes over. Yeah.
Very interesting.
And that's just one word, but if it's just an example of the road when you start saying the word but, the road just gets longer and longer. But what we want to do is we want to actually bridge that gap and have the two live in harmony, not against each other.
Yeah, exactly. That heart coherence, right? When our
Yeah,
heart's in coherence, then our mind's in coherence, our emotions are in
that's
coherence.
exactly
Yeah.
right. It's unfortunate. Most people don't know how they're feeling, or they will go into I'm sure we've all had these conversations with someone who's sad, and you ask them, how are you going? They start to share it. You watch the moment come in when they feel uncomfortable, and all of a sudden they're talking about the weather or something completely different. Now, it's understandable, but that's where we're at in a lot of ways with humanness and avoidance. We turn, we just avoid the uncomfortability. And it's sad. It's who we are. Reality is that when you have a sad moment, you feel the rush come up our bodies. And what we do is we go, oh, and we stop it instead of letting it come up. And sometimes we just need to let it come up.
Going to the water temples and screaming, huh, under the
Oh,
waterfall.
yes. Losing your voice when you do that.
That's a pretty extraordinary experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Thank you. So you describe people learning patterns of being in the world. So how do these patterns form and why are they so difficult to change?
Because one, change is hard. Most people, I'm sure everyone's heard of the term mindfulness. Most people don't understand that you can actually change the way you think. Most people don't even realize it's actually a thing that you can actually be aware of your thoughts. Most people so it's hard to change something that you're not aware of. But a lot of people that want that, and it's unfortunate reality too with drugs and alcohol, you're never going to get someone walking into a rehab going, my life's amazing, everything's going awesome, but I feel like I'm drinking too much, I want to change. No, it usually comes from having what they call a rock bottom. I actually believe you can lose with it, especially with addiction and even without addiction, but just in life in general, you can lose everything. But until you lose your dignity, that's when that's when the book of change opens up. Yeah.
So
You can
true.
lose everything. But until you lose your dignity in yourself, that's when the possibility, and it's unfortunately, that's just a reality of what we become. But, and you said about patterns. So patterns are like, I'll give you a classic, I'll use my example. So one of my examples, my mum is just an absolute sweetheart, kind of a bit self-centered, but she's a lovely human being. Everyone loves my mum. I grew up with my mum saying to me all the time, as long as you're happy, as long as you're happy, I don't care, as long as you're happy, as long as you're happy. Now, I always thought that was a good thing. But then when I really looked at it, you see the pattern of what happened to me, and it's very common with people I work with. You get told something like that, you're going to subconsciously put pressure on yourself to be happy all the time. So you don't understand what it's like to be sad, or you do everything to avoid it. So you start drinking, you start drugging, whatever it is, you find some ways to avoid it. And that was my experience. And then if I avoid any emotion and only look at chasing happiness, depression's going to set in, because depression, the actual word, if you look at it, it's depressed. You're depressing your emotions. That's where depression comes from. You're suppressing or depressing your emotions. You're keeping them down and shutting them off. Where we're human beings, we're communal beings. So we're very big communal people. We love to help others. We really want to be around other people. If you're introverted, it's fine, but you still need some form of community. But what addiction does is take you away from that. Patterns take you away from that. So I would suggest patterns get learnt from when you're a child, the biggest thing. And I'll use this example. So people learn their emotional world from the ages of 3 to 8. So the first thing, and I'll ask everyone this to have a think, what's the first thing a child does when they fall over? The first thing. Most people say will cry, right? No, the first thing they actually do, if you really look at it and think about it, they look at the parent to see how to react. And the parent's job is to go teach them how to feel in that moment, because they don't know how to feel. Most parents will go, oh my God, you okay? Oh, I got to learn panic in this moment. Then they start crying. So the patterns get learnt from that sort of behavior. Yeah. And that's just one example.
And so what about just throwing this into the mix about ancestral trauma?
Yeah, that's a big part as well.
Yeah.
That's a big part. If you, on the physical side, because I've done a lot of studying this, and this is my own study going on my own tangents, which I usually do. If you come, this is just one part, if you come from your dad's sperm and your dad's sperm holds thousands of memories, parts of the body, that is going to possibly have an effect when you're born. Yeah. Same with the mum's egg. That's a possibility. So that's a physical side. The other side is if you have a parent who had trauma, say, for example, if you have, and I'll use my example again, my mum grew up in Malta during World War II. And World War II, Malta was bombed every day of World War II. So you are going to grow up fearing going outside. You're going to have a fear that most people aren't grown up with. My mum's going to project that on me, whether she knows that or not. And she still says it to this day when I leave. Oh, be careful, be careful. That's just another little example. And that's just a minor example. You could just go on endless of things like that. So the generational trauma definitely has an effect as well. Yeah. And then you learn patterns from that. Every client I have that's anxious, I always ask, which parents worried all the time, your mum or your dad? Oh, my mum. Yeah. Guarantee there's always at least one parent. If someone's really anxious all the time, guaranteed one of their parents is anxious. 100%. And that's a generational thing. But you can change it. That's the thing. You can start to change it. If you're willing to put the effort in change.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks, Mark. So what role does our nervous system play in addiction, anxiety, avoidance and emotional reactivity?
Yeah, it's similar to what I was just saying. Our nervous system, I've got an out there belief. Doctors will say the opposite. And I think they have an agenda. That's my personal belief. So we get told the nervous system creates the thinking. I actually think it's the other. So the nervous system, our nervous system creates the way we think.
I've got you. I see.
So depression, it's why they work with antidepressants. I actually believe it's the other way around. I think it's the thinking creates the nervous system. That is something I'm trying to research how I can prove myself right. So I wouldn't say that's 100%, but I'm pretty sure the way I work with people as a therapist is I work with people. I don't do it by studying a book. I do it by studying humans. When you work and you see the patterns, you see how people react, you see how the body, and you know what? I'm gonna get everyone to do this. Actually, I've just had a thought of something.
Right.
I'm going to show people how it works. So I'm going to get everyone to close their eyes. Yeah. I'm going to imagine you're standing in a kitchen, and in front of you there's a chopping board, there's a lemon and a knife. I want you to imagine you pick up the knife and start cutting the lemon into slices. Now I'm going to get you to imagine you pick up one of the slices of lemon and put it in your mouth and start chewing on it. Now open your eyes. Whose mouth salivated up for the lemon? Yeah. Isn't that amazing? That just shows you how how we think creates the nervous system of our body, how it has an impact on our body. We just thought about it and our body reacts. Yeah. So I think that's a classic example of how it works with the nervous system.
Yeah. It's interesting. So doctors, conventional doctors or doctors in general, think that our nervous system affects our mind, but wouldn't it be a two-way story?
There's probably a two-way thing. I think doctors I speak to, they deny that. And I think it's because that's how antidepressants work. It's about you, yeah. Whereas I think it's the opposite. I truly believe it's the opposite, to be honest.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a two-way street where one counteracts the other. Yeah. But I believe it starts by the way we think creates the nervous system, not the other way around.
Creates how our nervous system responds.
Responds,
right?
Or yeah. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, understand.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. That completely makes sense, because all our emotions are associated with the emotions that we culminate in our mind. Often then it's how our body and our nervous system responds. So, it's like I'm feeling sad, and that, I guess this is an interesting thing. It's the mind. I'm feeling sad. So is that the mind telling me that, or is that my body telling me that?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting way to think. But I always think that our emotions affect our nervous system. And then when we can definitely manage our nervous system, then it affects how we feel emotionally, physically, and mentally, right?
Yeah. If you have panic attacks, or you know anyone that has a panic attack, you ask them what happens before the panic attack. It's not the body going into a shock. It's their overthinking that starts creating the body to panic.
Of course.
Yeah. But
logical, really.
A lot of doctors will say, no, it's a body response. It's the overthinking that just starts taking over and over. The body starts going into a panic response. That's why breath work is really the breath work you do is amazing, because it helps calm down the nervous system.
Yeah. And then other sorts of breath work that can stimulate our nervous system and also release trauma and emotions, which is
it can.
It's the different forms of breath work that can do that, right? Of course.
Yeah, there's a lot of physical practices that can do that. I know someone who's designing a whole program around running, because she's finding how much can calm the nervous system down for some people. Other people can make it into a panic response.
Yeah.
But we're all different. Pete says, our Qi Gong teacher, 8 billion people on the planet, not one person's the same as another.
Yeah. Yeah. Just before we go on to the next questions, I know some of you have some questions. And so what I thought we'd do is anyone that does have questions as we go through today's conversation, we're going to leave some time at the end of this that Mark can answer these questions. Yeah, so as we go, if anyone has questions that come up, please pop them into the chat and we'll look into them towards the end of this conversation. Okay, so many people intellectually understand themselves, or think they do, but still struggle to change behaviours. So why is insight alone often not enough, Mark?
Oof. That's a really big question. Yeah,
it's like we know if we
suppose.
eat sugar, it could, we know if we smoke cigarettes, we might get lung cancer. We know if we eat too much fat that we might affect our heart or whatever, or maybe the behave may affect our relationship, but we still carry on with these behaviors, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll answer it. What popped into my head was, if you can't tell by now, I love my analogies. Yeah. I love them. I see it in a way, it's like people talk about awareness is everything. I actually don't know if I believe in that. So awareness is, if awareness is the key, awareness is nothing without action. So if you have a key, how can I explain? I'm trying to figure out how I can explain it. Yeah, so with a key, unless you put action in place and put it in the ignition of the car, turn the ignition, put the car into gear, put the seatbelt on, you're not going to go anywhere. You need to without action, it's nothing. You need to put action in place. Most of us don't know how to put action in place, or we find it hard because it comes back to change is really hard to be able to change. But until you start putting awareness in place, and I use this analogy as well, it's like the way the brain, and has anyone ever seen the way a brain lights up when it has a thought? It looks like a Christmas tree. It goes from one neuro to the next one. So change is about, if you're walking through a forest and you are walking the same path, the grass is dead, the dirt's indented, it's nice and hard because it's the same path that keeps going. It's the same way when we think. The brain will take the easiest path because it's the easiest path. But change comes from when you start working on changing how you think, especially about yourself. So it's about creating a new path in the forest. So if you start creating a new path, the grass is there. It's really hard to walk through when you first start creating a path. It's difficult. But if you keep taking that path instead of the old one, what happens is the old one starts getting grass, starts growing over it. It's still there, but it's not as prevalent as the one you keep using, the new one. Once you start using that one, becomes the deeper path and the more used one. That's how you work on change, and that's how the brain works.
Yeah.
So if you decide to take the action to change the way you think and the way you talk about yourself, your brain will create a path that's easier to follow.
Yeah, exactly. And I imagine people must often just get overwhelmed as well because it's okay, how do I change this behavior? How do I stop eating this particular food, or what do I need to do to change this habit? They might look up online and then there's a million things or many contradictory things on ways to change as well. And sometimes it's just that whole overwhelm, right? And it just goes into the too hard basket.
100%. Yeah. So everyone wants to, the most simplest thing you can do, you want change? If you think a certain way and it's creating a life that's going downhill, then probably thinking the opposite way is going to be the better way to go. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. If you think a certain, and I'll say that again, and it's, people can read hundreds of books, whatever, but if you think a certain way and your life is spiraling out of control, then probably learning to think or working on thinking the opposite way is probably the answer. It's as simple as that. You can write
so
books
simple.
about it, whatever. Yeah. You don't want to complicate it. Just make it simple.
Yeah, nice. I like that. Yeah. If only we did think that way more simply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this stuff's easy to say. It's not easy to do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is a practice about changing the way you treat yourself. If we bully ourselves all the time, then surely the answer of being a better version of us is treating ourselves kindly instead of the bully. And the funny thing is, for example, I'm 54. I start doing this now, I'm not going to be the Dalai Lama tomorrow. It's 54 years of shit that excuse my language, I do swear a little bit. It's 50 years of things, of a way of living that I've got to change. So it's going to take a bit of time.
Sure.
And it's like not being harsh on yourself, not being a critic. My friend used to say, it's not about being a critic to yourself. It's about start turning into a cheerleader for yourself.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
That's so good. That is so
Yeah.
good. So what have you learned about shame through the work with addiction and mental health?
Shame and guilt go together. Guilt's I did something bad. Shame is I am bad.
Interesting.
Shame is very linked to addiction. It's very linked to just human behavior. Now, how can I say this? To me, when working with people, there's no difference in someone who, say, has shame because they drank, drove, and had an accident and killed someone, compared to someone who has shame because when they were 10 years old, they stole $2 from their mum. Now, the scenario might be a huge different scale, but the shame is still the same. The way it impacts the body, the way it impacts our thoughts, the shame is no different. That's probably the biggest thing I know about shame. Yeah. And I would suggest if anyone has shame on them about themselves or guilt even for themselves, I'm going to suggest that if you're open to this, is write a letter of the thing you're shameful about, write a letter to yourself, forgiving yourself.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Take the time to do it. I get my clients to do it all the time, and it's amazing the impact it has. And if you're willing to even go next level, either read it to someone you trust or look in the mirror and read it to yourself.
Beautiful.
But write a letter to yourself asking for forgiveness about what you're shameful for. You'd be amazed how much the shame, there's something about shame and doing it in front of other people that alleviates the shame as well. Because we are human, we are a communal being.
Yes.
We're communal people. It's funny, everyone talks about, I forgot his name, the guy who wrote the book of Darwin, Charles Darwin, and the need for competition. People don't know that book. He wrote that book and mentioned the word competition something like 4 times, and it was only in a page and a half. He wrote in that same book the word love 98 times. But people don't talk about that. They only talk about Darwin and the need for competition. They never talk about how much he talked about how we're communal, how much we need to love each other, how much love is the answer. It's amazing. That book is unbelievable. The Descendant of Man, I think it's called, from memory.
Thank you.
Yeah. Everyone talks about Charles Darwin and competition. But it was like 2 pages of his whole book.
Yeah.
I don't know why I added that in, but that's, yeah.
human behavior, human nature,
It is human habit.
what we hone in on and what we focus on, right? Versus
Yeah, yeah.
what's actually what we really need and what's really surrounding us, and what's right there is the word love
Yes. Yeah.
versus competition.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's exactly right. And for years, we talk about, yeah, the need for competition. There is a small need for that.
Yeah, yeah,
But we're human beings. It's funny. You can have a whole world of racism and hate. But I know New Zealand's the same as Australia. As soon as there's a natural disaster, there's no thought. It blew my mind, that big tsunami in 2005, I think it was. I don't know if it was a big coincidence in a way that if it happened on the one place in the planet where every religion got hit, no one sat there and went, "Oh, we're not going to help them because they're Muslim. We're not going to help them because they're Buddhist." Everyone was just like, "Oh my God, these poor people." That's who we truly are.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, beautiful, awesome, Mark. Thank you. So, why do you think? What do you think people are most disconnected from in modern life?
Themselves.
Good answer.
Yeah. Unfortunately, themselves, because we get taught that we should be a certain way. We should do this, we should do that from a young age. Parents do it, but they want the best for us. It's not they're doing on purpose to put us down. But our biggest disconnection is, one, disconnection from ourselves, two, from spirit, whatever that is to you. That could be even just a connection to the earth. Those three things.
Yeah.
We lose, unfortunately, since the 50s, they've done studies where the average household has got bigger, but our connection has got smaller. We don't sit there and have dinner with each other anymore. We have 3 bathrooms in the house. So you can have a whole day where you don't see a family member if you truly want to. It was never like that. And that's one thing we're doing. We're disconnecting ourselves from each other and from ourselves.
Yeah. And no
The other
doubt,
thing is this thing.
exactly. All the modern
Yeah.
technology, which is it connects us, but it so disconnects us in so many ways, right?
Yeah. I don't know
When you're
why
at
they
a,
call them smartphones. They should be called dumb phones, I reckon.
dumbing us down in so many ways.
But
Yeah, or people sitting having dinner together on their phones.
yeah, yeah. No, that's exactly right. But then people did it 30 years ago with newspapers on the train.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Cool. So, going to step a little bit into the world of Qi Gong now.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
and how did Qi Gong first enter your life, Mark? And what did it give you that traditional talk therapy alone could not?
Okay. Yeah. So I discovered Qigong I used to go to Ubud, Bali once a year and do yoga. And I'm sorry for any yogis out there. I hated yoga.
I'm with you on
I
that.
just
It's
couldn't
okay.
connect to it. For me, I'd finish a class and I'd do 1 or 2 classes a day, but I'd walk out and people would be like, "Oh, I feel so connected. Oh, this mirror." And I'd be like, it's just like a stretch before a football match for me. I just didn't understand the connection. And then one day I walked into a class and it was Pete, our teacher, Qigong. I actually literally walked in and thought it was a different form of yoga I'd never heard of. And I walked in, and within 2 minutes, I was like, "Oh, this is me. I'm hooked." I feel more connected to myself because as you know, and Pete's whole thing is around letting go. And for me, that's the answer. Letting go of what you think you know, letting go of control. You let go of control, it's amazing the things that can happen. You've seen some of the things. What we do is because of our lives, we start trying to control things to keep ourselves safe. It's the biggest thing humans, especially women, it's number 1, men, it's number 3. We need to feel safe. So trying to control things is a way that keeps us safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
And Qigong gave me that feeling of letting go of all that.
Beautiful. Yeah. So what happens when we bring mind-body practices like Qigong into counselling and addiction recovery work?
Yeah, people feel more themselves when they're doing some form of, people talk about the three: physical, mental, spiritual. I believe it's four, personally. So I'll add in emotional.
Yeah.
We need, if you connect to all four of them, you'll connect to yourself in a way that's unbelievable. But and physical could be anything just that you feel comfortable doing. That's you. Like I said, yoga wasn't for me, but I did Qigong and now it's me. Any form of, but if you think you're going to work on your mental health by just doing physical practices, you need to work on the mental. There's a reason why it's called mental issues. If you don't work on it mentally, you're only avoiding the actual issue. Physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. The hardest one is probably emotional because we get taught to shut it down. But I'll give you something that helps me, and it's with my clients as well. Ask yourself these two questions when you want to step into learning how you feel. How do I feel? What do I need? Ask yourself those two questions. How do I feel? It could be something like, how do I feel? I feel thirsty. What do I need? A glass of water. How do I feel? I feel tired. What do I need? A nap. Unfortunately, we've created a society that, how do I feel? I feel tired. What do I need? What I want is to go get a cup of coffee, not what we need. So we put the complete opposite thing in our body than our body's telling us what we need. So ask yourself those two questions. It will change your life. Even just simple things, even simple things. How do I feel? What do I need? You'll start learning how to make decisions. Your world will change.
Yeah, beautiful. Exactly. So, for someone completely new to Qigong, how would you describe what it actually is beyond movement?
Okay, so this is how I used to describe it two ways when I was teaching in Ubud. Qigong, what yoga is to India, Qigong is to China.
Yeah,
That's one explanation.
yeah,
Two, I'd ask people, do you know what traditional Chinese medicine is or acupuncture? Qigong is the physical movement of what acupuncture does. And that's, the other way I'd explain it. It's a physical practice to connect to your mind, body, spirit.
and to let go.
And to let go. That's another level of it. To let go. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Very good. What has this is an interesting question. What has working with human suffering taught you about compassion?
It really can connect us. Human suffering, that's a really big question. Human suffering is a way to be seen in some ways. It's a way we can connect. It's a part of life. The thing is, a lot of people get taught to avoid sadness, avoid anger. Anger is a beautiful emotion. To me, there's no positive or negative emotions. They're just emotions. Anger is a beautiful emotion. You can learn so much. It's how we express it that's not healthy. So learning to express emotions healthily is a big way to step forward. Suffering, unfortunately, is a part of life. Life has its ups and downs. It's how we deal with the downs is the difference. Unfortunately, especially with addiction, most people deal with the downs by using substances, and then it just spirals worse and worse. But suffering, we're born. I love this scenario of like when we're born, we come into the world, we're crying, and everyone around us is laughing and smiling. When we die, everyone is crying. So there must be a part where possibly we might be smiling. And it's human, but it's human suffering. That it's a part of who we are. It's human nature. Most people do it to protect us. A lot of people do it as a way to be seen and heard. Like I said at the start, one of our biggest human needs is to be seen and heard. And some people just, their lives are so down. It's the only way I'm sure we've all met these people. How are you feeling today? Oh, they're saying the same story negatively, but it starts becoming a monotone. That's just their life. They're not feeling anything. There's something about humanness. And if anyone asked me this will sum it up. If anyone asked me what's the biggest addiction in the world, 100% drama, the addiction to drama. It's why TV shows like Married at First Sight are so popular, because we love the highs of when a couple get together, but we also love it when it's going to shit. Drama is the biggest addiction we have, and it creates suffering. And it's just part of human nature.
And then, of course, there's people that suffer, that have no choice.
That's true too.
Because of their circumstances or where they live, or because they're in a part of the world that has been where genocide might be happening or whatever.
No, that's
suffering on another scale.
Yeah, that's very true too. I've been to 64 countries in the world. The poorer the country, the happier the people.
It's true.
That's been my experience.
Yeah, that was actually one of my questions to you. You've traveled extensively, explored many cultures, and what have those experiences taught you about what really matters, right?
Yeah. Humanness.
Yeah.
Just being human. Our true nature of being a human. Unfortunately, in some ways, living in Bali and then coming back here, I'll see someone's car break down the middle of the road. Unfortunately, because of fear, no one gets out of the car and helps the person off the road, or not many people do anymore.
Yeah.
But our human nature is to pull over and do that. But we fear what might happen to us because of what we get taught or told.
Yeah.
We need to go back to that.
Yeah.
Be okay with that someone may be suffering. The best thing you can do for them is be there and be an ear for them and say, sometimes the best thing you can hear is, I don't know what you're going through right now, but if you need anything, I'm here for you. Yeah. Just ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. So true. So very true. Look, we're coming towards an end. We've been going for an hour. I think I've got two more questions, and then we'll crack into any questions from other people. So other than Qi Gong, do you have any other practices that help you stay grounded, connected, and open-hearted, Mark?
Yeah, Tai Chi, so it's very similar.
Yep.
You mentioned at the start, motorbike riding. To me, to me, it's the ultimate. It's finding that thing you love to do as a child and step into that.
Yeah.
Let that person be out. If it's dancing's another one.
Yes.
Yeah, I love aesthetic dance.
Yeah. Nice.
Anything that I feel I can let go of control helps me to ground.
Yeah.
Helps me to be myself. Another big practice, and I'm sure Pete said this when you were on his thing, because he says it a lot and I say it a lot. Stop worrying about what other people think.
Good point.
Is another one.
Yeah, that's definitely.
If you live your life living it the way other people think you should live, then you're not living your life.
Yeah, so true. Very valid. Yeah, yeah. Cool. I've got one more question. And so if someone listening tonight feels stuck or disconnected or caught in old patterns, what's one small thing you'd encourage them to begin with, Mark?
Be open to change.
Yep. Nice.
Not only become aware, but work on action. As hard as it is, I get this stuff's easy to talk about, hard to do when you're in it. But the more you push yourself, the more you realize what power you have and how much strength you have. So be open to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Even
very
if you
good.
find it hard, just be open to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one step at a time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Even if small steps, even if you take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, it's still a step forward.
Yeah, that's very valid. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Great. Thank you, Mark. Is there anything else you'd like to throw in the mix before we've got a question here from Vanita? But is there anything else before we?
No, let's get the questions going because
Yeah, cool.
I can't believe it's an hour already.
I know, right? It's just on an hour, so there we go. Time
Yeah.
flies when you're having
Yeah.
fun. So Vanita has asked the question, how do we change our patterns of behaviour we've conditioned ourselves, been conditioned with from childhood?
Yeah. If you become aware of the patterns, start questioning it. That's the first step. Just start questioning. If you notice a pattern, literally the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting change. That's literally the definition of insanity. So it's about if you witness something that's not working, possibly try the opposite or do something different. It's the biggest way. It's as simple as that. And people say that's hard to do, or it can't be that simple. It's, for example, Pete used to say this in class all the time when someone says, I'm stressed. And Pete would ask, do you know what's making you stressed? And the person would say yes. And he would say, stop doing it. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. But what we do is we tell ourselves the buts come in. But yeah, I can tell you, you can change your life by being open to change. I learned to read at 42 years of age. I didn't know I was illiterate until I was 42.
Amazing.
Yeah. I don't tell many people that, but that's if you're willing to change and put the effort in, yeah. It's about stepping into your power. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
We all have it. It's just taking the opportunity to do that. And it will feel challenging at times. It's the hardest thing you'll do, but it's the best thing you'll do.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Very nice. Yeah. Thank you, Mark. Are there any more questions anyone wants to pop in the chat? There's a bit of love coming through, appreciating what we've done
It's sweet.
tonight.
It's very nice to see. Thank you.
Which is great. But if there's any last minute, any questions or anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask something, you're also very welcome to do that. Or pop it in the chat. Thanks, Mark and Amanda. It's been amazing. It's been so lovely to have you all here. It's such a lovely mix of people from Australia, New Zealand, and Paris. Paris, how beautiful. Yeah, cool. So also just starting to close things down for the evening is that both Mark and I will be teaching here at the Level 1 teacher training with Forest Rock Qi Gong here in Bali from the 1st to the 24th of July. And I can honestly say that course changed my life, as it does pretty much anyone going to it. So anyone that's interested, not necessarily to become a teacher, but just to dive deep into the world of Qi Gong, then it is an amazingly, beautifully curated, put together, intense course for 24 days. Intense, but also lots of fun, and amazing people from all around the world come for it. And it is a game changer. You can look up Forest Rock Qi Gong if anyone's interested in that. And I got to meet amazing people like Mark and many other teachers there. So it's been a real pleasure. Also, if anyone is interested, you can check out my website, breatheright.com, where I run the collective from here, as well as teach online, both one-on-one and groups, both Qigong and breathwork and somatic practices. So love to have any of you join at any time or reach out, get in touch. But more to the point, I'd like to thank Mark Beesley for being here today and sharing your wisdom. I'm so grateful for you being here, and it's been a real pleasure to have you here, Mark.
So welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you for joining, everyone.
Lovely.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll say our farewells, and thank you everyone. Have a beautiful evening, afternoon, morning, day, wherever you are. And yeah, we hope to see you again sometime. So thank you.